The penthouse glass reflected nothing but the city waking below, towers catching first light across the Willamette River. Ethan Caldwell stood at the window on the 30th floor, coffee going cold in his hand, watching Portland shake off November frost. 3,000 square feet of steel and marble surrounded him. Furniture chosen by an interior designer whose name he'd forgotten. Art appraised higher than most people's homes. Silence so complete it pressed against his eardrums like depth. His phone buzzed on the granite counter. Calendar reminder. Board meeting 8:00 a.m. Q4 projections. Below it, another line. Emma, after school pickup, 6:00 p.m. 6 o'clock, 12 hours from now. Another day where he'd see his daughter for 20 minutes before exhaustion claimed them both. The bedroom door down the hall stayed closed. Emma slept in there when he worked late at the office, which meant most nights now, Mrs. Patterson, the 60-year-old nanny whose efficiency matched her emotional distance, maintained a separate apartment across town. She arrived at 7 each morning, departed at 6 each evening, and in between provided what the agency called professional child care services. Emma never smiled when Mrs. Patterson entered a room. Ethan set down the coffee, pulled on the charcoal suit jacket that cost more than his first car, checked his reflection in the hallway mirror, successful, composed, hollowed out somewhere no one could see. 3 years since Jennifer died on an operating table during what the surgeon called a routine procedure with unforeseen complications. 3 years of building Caldwell Construction Group into a $50 million operation while his daughter learned to stop asking when mommy was coming home. 3 years of winning every professional battle and losing the only war that mattered. He locked the penthouse door behind him. The elevator descended in silence. 6 miles across the city, Sophia Kane woke to someone kicking the bench where she'd managed 2 hours of sleep. A teenager in a hoodie, laughing with friends, moved on when she sat up. The Division Street bus stop offered minimal shelter, a plexiglass roof, a wooden bench marked with years of graffiti, view of a 7-Eleven parking lot where the overnight clerk watched her through the window with the expression people reserved for problems they hoped would solve themselves. Her coat, purchased from Goodwill 3 months ago, no longer blocked the wind that knifed through worn fabric. Inside the plastic shopping bag that held everything she owned, one change of clothes in a gallon Ziploc, a paperback copy of Charlotte's Web from a library donation bin, her social security card, an expired driver's license sealed against weather, a toothbrush, and the photograph she'd been staring at when sleep finally came. The photo showed 2 women at a dining table, Christmas lights blurred in the background. Linda Kane, 53 years old, grinning at the camera with the kind of joy that belonged to people who didn't know pancreatic cancer was already growing inside them. Sophia, 28 then, laughing at something her mother had just said, some joke neither of them would remember, lost now with everything else. Today would have been her mother's 54th birthday. Sophia folded the photo back into its Ziploc protection, checked the 7-Eleven clock through the window, 6:47 a.m. The first bus wouldn't come for another hour. She'd learned the schedules by heart, learned which drivers let her ride without paying, learned which public bathrooms unlocked earliest, and which shelters had bed space on which nights. 5 months of learning how to disappear into a city that had once felt like home. The wind picked up. Early snow, rare for Portland this time of year, began drifting down in flakes that melted on contact with pavement, still holding yesterday's warmth. Sophia pulled the coat tighter, watched her breath cloud the air, tried not to think about the last real meal she'd eaten, because thinking about it made the hunger sharper. A car pulled into the 7-Eleven. Business type, probably stopping for coffee before the commute. Sophia looked away, made herself small on the bench. Most people didn't notice the homeless if you stayed still enough, quiet enough, unthreatening enough. Became part of the urban landscape they trained themselves not to see. Her phone, a flip model she'd kept charged at library outlets before the battery finally died, sat useless in the bottom of her bag. No one to call anyway. The friends from her Powell's Books days had stopped responding to messages after the 3rd request for a couch to sleep on. The apartment she'd shared with her mother sat occupied by strangers now. Their lease signed the month after Sophia missed her second rent payment. The hospital bills from her mother's final weeks exceeded $60,000. Her bank account held 17 cents. At Portland State, she'd earned a master's degree in library science with a 3.9 GPA. At Powell's, she'd built the children's Saturday reading program from 6 kids to 43, had regulars who asked for her by name, had supervisors who wrote performance reviews using words like exceptional and irreplaceable. Then her mother got sick. Then came the choice between keeping her job and keeping her mother comfortable in the last months of life. Then came the pink slip 3 weeks before Linda Kane stopped breathing. Then came the cascade that people with safety nets never understood. How losing one thing meant losing everything. How fast the fall happened once you started falling. How no one believed it could happen to someone educated and capable until suddenly it had. Sophia wiped her eyes. The tears weren't new. They came most mornings now, especially on days that meant something. Birthdays, holidays, Tuesdays. She let them fall because no one was watching, because crying in public was another thing homeless people did that made others uncomfortable, because sometimes the only thing left was the permission to hurt. The 7-Eleven door chimed. The overnight clerk stepped out, arms crossed, staring at her with the look that preceded being told to move along. Sophia stood before he could say it, picked up her bag, started walking toward the library that wouldn't open until 10. Behind her, the bench emptied, except for snow that was already melting. The Audi Q8 handled the West Hills curves like it was built for them. Because it was, because Ethan paid for precision in vehicles the same way he paid for precision in construction projects. The house rose ahead, a modernist statement of glass and cedar perched where Portland's wealthy planted their flags above the city. 5,000 square feet of automated everything, security system that cost more than most cars, yard maintained by landscapers who came Thursdays, whether anything needed maintaining or not. Emma's bedroom window faced the driveway. Ethan could see Mrs. Patterson moving around inside, probably laying out the day's clothes, probably following the schedule she maintained with the rigidity of someone who viewed children as projects requiring management. He pulled into the garage, sat for a moment with the engine off, gathering energy he didn't have for the 20 minutes he'd get with his daughter before work swallowed the rest of his day. The house smelled like the cleaning service that came Mondays and Thursdays. Mrs. Patterson appeared from the kitchen, already dressed in the practical slacks and cardigan that seemed to be the uniform for her profession. "Mr. Caldwell, I wasn't expecting you this morning." "I live here." The words came sharper than intended. He softened his voice. "Where's Emma?" "Getting dressed. We're on schedule for breakfast at 7:30. Departure for school at 8:15. "I'll take her today." Mrs. Patterson's expression suggested this was a deviation from protocol. "The morning routine is quite established. Perhaps it's better not to. I'm taking my daughter to school." "Of course." The nanny's smile never reached her eyes. "I'll inform Emma of the change." She disappeared down the hallway. Ethan moved to the kitchen where Emma's breakfast waited on the table. Cereal precisely measured, orange juice in a plastic cup, napkin folded at perfect angles. Everything correct. Everything empty of warmth. "Daddy?" He turned. Emma stood in the doorway, 6 years old and already learning to be uncertain around him. Brown eyes that matched her mother's, hair pulled into ponytails by Mrs. Patterson's efficient hands, clothes expensive enough to look out of place in elementary school. "Hey, baby." He knelt down, opened his arms. She came to him, but slowly, like she wasn't sure if this version of her father would last. "How about we skip the after-school program today? You and me will do something fun." "Really?" Hope flickered across her face, immediately tempered by experience. "You won't have to go back to work?" "Not today. Today's for you." The lie felt necessary. He'd make it true. Somehow he'd make it true. "Can we go to the farmer's market? Like we used to with Mommy?" The memory landed like a fist to the chest. Saturday mornings, the three of them wandering through vendor stalls, Jennifer teaching Emma to pick the ripest fruit, the kind of ordinary happiness that only revealed its value after it was gone. "Yeah, we can do that." Emma's smile broke open, genuine and bright. She hugged him tighter. "Mrs. Patterson never takes me there. She says it's inefficient." "Well, sometimes inefficient is better." He stood, lifting her with him. "Go finish your breakfast. Then we'll get out of here." He carried her to the table, set her down in front of the precisely arranged meal. Mrs. Patterson reappeared, already wearing her coat. "I'll see you at 6 then, Mr. Caldwell." "Actually, take the day off. I've got Emma covered." The nanny's pause lasted half a second too long. "Is everything all right with my performance?" "Everything's fine. I just want time with my daughter." "Of course." She collected her bag from the counter. "I'll await your call for tomorrow's schedule." The door closed behind her. Ethan watched Emma eating her cereal in small, careful bites and wondered when she'd learn to be so cautious around food, around joy, around everything. "Daddy, when we go to the market, can we get those apple donuts? The ones with cinnamon?" "We can get whatever you want." "And can we just—" She set down her spoon. "Can we just be slow, not rushing?" The question cut deeper than she knew. "Yeah, baby, we can be as slow as you need." The board meeting ran exactly as Ethan expected. Victoria Chen questioning his expansion timeline, the other members deferring to her despite Ethan holding controlling shares, everyone dancing around what they really thought, that he'd lost focus since Jennifer died, that grief made him unreliable, that perhaps Caldwell Construction would benefit from fresher leadership. Victoria stayed after the others left, her presence calculated. 45, Harvard MBA, 5 years on the board and hungry for the CEO position, Ethan showed no signs of vacating. The California expansion isn't optional anymore. She laid a folder on the conference table. "We've got 3 major competitors moving into Sacramento and San Jose. If we don't establish presence now, we're not overextended yet. We're leaving money on the table." She flipped open the folder, revealing projections Ethan had already reviewed and rejected. 50 million in potential contracts, another 100 employees, market dominance in the Western Corridor. At the cost of quality control, we expand that fast, we compromise what built this company. What built this company was your ability to take calculated risks. Victoria's tone sharpened. Lately, you've been risk-averse, distracted. Emma's a lovely child, but perhaps the demands of single parenthood affecting your judgment. Ethan stood. "This meeting's over. The board is concerned. The board can express their concerns in writing, through proper channels." He gathered his briefcase. "And Victoria, my daughter is off limits in these discussions. Permanently." He left her sitting there, made it to his office before the anger translated into something more complicated. The knowledge that she was right about the distraction, wrong about everything else. Emma deserved a father present in her life. Caldwell Construction would survive without him working 18-hour days. The world wouldn't end if he chose his daughter over a board meeting. His phone buzzed. Marcus Hastings, his CFO and only real friend, survived the Victoria Inquisition? Ethan typed back, barely, taking the afternoon off. The response came immediately. "Who are you and what did you do with Ethan Caldwell?" He smiled despite everything. Marcus had been there from the beginning, the early days of Caldwell Construction, when it was just Ethan with a pickup truck and a contractor's license, taking on renovation jobs other builders ignored. Marcus quit his accounting firm to handle the books when revenue barely covered expenses. Stood as best man at Ethan's wedding. Showed up at the hospital the day Jennifer died and stayed for 3 months, helping with Emma, managing the business, being present when Ethan couldn't. Trying something new, Ethan typed. "See you Monday." The drive to Emma's school took 15 minutes. He found her waiting in the principal's office, protocol for early pickups, wearing the uncertain expression of a child who'd learned not to fully trust good things. "You really came." She grabbed his hand as they walked to the car. "I said I would." Mrs. Patterson says that sometimes things change even when people promise. Ethan made a mental note to have a conversation with Mrs. Patterson about what she discussed with a 6-year-old. "Not today. Today I keep my promises." The farmers market occupied a parking lot in southeast Portland, transformed every Saturday into rows of vendor stalls selling produce, flowers, artisan bread, and the kind of casual community that Ethan's life no longer included. He found parking on a side street, helped Emma out of the Audi, watched her face light up at the familiar smells of fresh baked goods and roasting coffee. "Can we get the donuts first or do we have to look at vegetables?" "We can do whatever you want." She grabbed his hand, started pulling him toward the market entrance, then stopped abruptly, her grip tightening. "Daddy, that lady is crying." Ethan followed her gaze to the bus stop across the street. A woman sat on the bench, blonde hair tangled around her face, wearing a coat too thin for the weather. Her shoulders shook with the kind of crying that came from somewhere too deep for control. She held something in her hands, a photograph, he realized, staring at it like it was the only thing anchoring her to the world. She looks really sad. Emma's voice went small, like how you looked after Mommy died. The observation landed harder than any board meeting criticism. Ethan started to redirect Emma away from the scene. Instinct said protect his daughter from other people's pain. Said keep moving, said homeless woman at bus stop wasn't their concern. But Emma pulled her hand free. I want to help her. Baby, sometimes people need space when they're upset. But you said helping is good. You said we should be kind. Ethan looked at the crying woman again. Saw something beyond the obvious distress. The way she held herself despite the worn clothes. The careful way she protected the photograph. The intelligence visible even through grief. Not addiction, not mental illness. Just someone drowning. 5 minutes, he heard himself say. We'll check if she's okay. They crossed the street. The woman didn't notice their approach until Emma stood directly in front of her. She looked up, startled, wiping her face with her sleeve. Her eyes were blue, red-rimmed from crying but clear, intelligent, aware of exactly how she appeared. Emma spoke before Ethan could stop her. Are you okay? You look really sad. The woman's face crumpled. Fresh tears spilled over. She tried to speak, couldn't, shook her head. Emma opened her arms. Do you need a hug? Hugs help sometimes. For a moment, the woman just stared at this small girl in expensive clothes offering comfort to a stranger. Then she nodded, unable to form words. Emma wrapped her arms as far around the woman as they would go. It's okay to cry, Emma said softly, patting the woman's back. My daddy says tears help the sadness come out so happiness can come back in. The woman let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. She hugged Emma back gently, carefully, like someone afraid of breaking something precious. Ethan stood frozen, every protective instinct screaming while something else, recognition, maybe, or memory of his own devastation, kept him from pulling Emma away. When they separated, the woman wiped her eyes again, managed to speak, voice raw. Thank you. You're very kind. What's your name? Emma asked with the directness only children possessed. Sophia. I'm Emma. This is my daddy, Ethan. Ethan moved closer, maintaining distance between his daughter and this stranger, while something in his chest tightened at the scene. I'm sorry you're having a difficult day. It's my mother's birthday. Sophia held up the photograph. 2 women at Christmas. Joy captured in the moment before everything broke. She died 10 months ago. Pancreatic cancer. It was fast. I'm sorry for your loss. The automatic condolence sounded hollow even to his own ears. But Sophia's expression shifted. Recognition of someone else who understood grief as more than abstract concept. Emma peered at the photograph. Is that your mommy? Yes, that was our last Christmas together. My mommy is in heaven too. Emma looked up at her father. Daddy says she watches me from the stars. Sophia's jaw tightened against another wave of tears. I'm sure she does. They stood in awkward silence. Wealthy CEO, grieving homeless woman, 6-year-old child bridging a gap that money and circumstance had carved. Ethan noticed details now. Sophia's hands were clean, despite obviously living rough. Her speech patterns educated. The photograph protected in a plastic sleeve. This wasn't someone who'd lived on streets for years. This was someone who'd fallen recently, hard from somewhere higher. Have you eaten today? The question came out before he could stop it. Sophia's expression closed, pride warring with hunger. I'm managing. That's not what I asked. Daddy, she's hungry. Emma tugged his coat. We should share our donuts. Ethan knelt to his daughter's level. Emma, how would you feel if I invited Sophia to come to the market with us? We could get breakfast together. Emma's face lit up. Yes, please come with us, Sophia. But Sophia was already shaking her head, standing, gathering the plastic bag that held her possessions. I appreciate the kindness, but I don't want to be charity. It's not charity, Emma insisted. It's friendship. Right, Daddy? Ethan stood slowly, read the calculation in Sophia's eyes. The desperate need fighting against self-respect. The awareness that accepting help meant surrendering something she couldn't afford to lose but also couldn't afford to keep. My daughter wants to share donuts. He kept his voice neutral. And honestly, she never lets me pick the right apples anyway. Maybe you could help with that. The smallest smile cracked through Sophia's tears. I'm an expert on apples. Then we definitely need you. He gestured toward the market. No expectations, no strings, just breakfast. Sophia looked at Emma's hopeful face, at Ethan's careful distance that somehow felt safer than false warmth, at the farmer's market across the street where normal people did normal things on Saturday mornings. Okay, she whispered, just breakfast. They crossed Division Street together, an unlikely trio bound by nothing except a child's compassion and the strange gravity of grief recognizing grief. Emma walked between them, holding both their hands, chattering about her school and her friends and the book she was reading. Sophia listened with the focused attention of someone who'd once worked with children, asking questions that made Emma light up. Ethan watched them interact and felt something shift in his chest. Not attraction, not yet, but recognition. This woman knew how to connect with his daughter in ways Mrs. Patterson never had. More than that, Emma was smiling genuinely for the first time in months. The market buzzed with Saturday morning energy. Vendor stalls overflowed with produce from local farms. The air carried competing scents of fresh bread, roasted coffee, and cinnamon from the donut stand Emma loved. Ethan guided them toward the apple vendor first, testing his instinct about Sophia, curious if she'd been serious about expertise. She transformed at the produce stand, picked up an apple, examined it with professional care, held it toward Emma. See how it's firm when you press gently? No soft spots. And look at the color. Deep red with these yellow undertones means it got plenty of sun. Emma took the apple, mimicking Sophia's careful handling. It smells good. That's the second test. Sophia turned the apple, pointing to the stem end. Fresh apples have a crisp smell right here. Not fermented, not strange, just fresh. They went through the process with a dozen apples. Sophia teaching, Emma absorbing, Ethan watching this homeless woman who clearly had deep knowledge about something as simple as fruit selection. Not just knowledge, passion. She came alive doing this, shoulders straightening, voice gaining confidence. The weight of whatever had broken her temporarily lifted. Where did you learn this? He asked it quietly while Emma focused on choosing the perfect apple. My mother grew up on a farm in eastern Oregon. Before nursing school, before moving to Portland, she taught me everything about produce. Sophia's voice caught. We came to markets every Saturday when I was young. It was our tradition. And now you're teaching my daughter. If that's okay. It's more than okay. They bought 2 bags of apples, more than Emma needed, but Ethan saw Sophia eyeing them with barely concealed hunger and made the purchase without comment. Next stop was the donut stand, where the vendor greeted Emma by name. The usual for you, sweetheart? Cinnamon sugar? Yes, please. And for my friends, too. The vendor glanced at Sophia, read the situation instantly, showed no reaction beyond a slight nod, and boxed up 3 warm donuts without commenting. Ethan handed over cash and added, 3 coffees, too. They found a bench near the juggler who performed most Saturdays. Emma sat between the adults, focused entirely on her donut, making small noises of satisfaction. Sophia held her own donut like it might disappear. When she took the first bite, her eyes closed. The expression on her face was almost painful to witness, gratitude and grief and physical relief mixing into something raw. When did you last eat something hot? Ethan kept his voice low, not wanting to embarrass her. Sophia swallowed. Tuesday, maybe Monday. The days blur. And before that? Does it matter? She opened her eyes. I'm here now. This is more than I had this morning. Emma finished her donut, licking sugar off her fingers. Sophia, where do you live? The question hung in the air. Sophia set down her coffee, looked at this child who'd shown her more kindness in 20 minutes than the city had offered in 5 months. Different places, wherever there's room. Don't you have a house? Not anymore, sweetheart. Emma processed this with 6-year-old directness. That's sad. Everyone should have a house. That's true, but sometimes life gets complicated. Ethan felt the weight of opportunity pressing against the boundaries of good judgment. His daughter needed someone who could connect with her emotionally. This woman clearly had education, intelligence, childcare experience, all visible in how she interacted with Emma. She was also homeless, which meant desperate, which meant any offer he made came wrapped in power dynamics he couldn't untangle. But Emma was laughing at the juggler now, actually laughing, and Sophia was watching her with the kind of gentle attention Mrs. Patterson had never managed in 6 months. He made a decision that logic said was reckless and instinct said was right. Sophia, I need to ask you something serious. He waited until she met his eyes. And I need you to really think before answering. Her expression shuddered. I'm not interested in anything that requires. I run a construction company, Caldwell Construction Group. My hours are long, 6 in the morning until 7 at night, sometimes later. Emma goes to an after-school program until 6, then comes home with her nanny, who stays until I arrive. He watched understanding dawn on Sophia's face. My daughter needs more than supervision. She needs someone who actually connects with her. Someone patient and kind and present. You want to hire me as a nanny? The words came flat, stripped of emotion. I want to offer you a trade. I have a property in West Hills, a main house and a separate guest house. The guest house has 2 bedrooms, full kitchen, private entrance. You live there. You help with Emma, pick her up from school, homework, dinner preparation. In exchange, housing, meals, and $3,000 monthly. Sophia's face went pale. $3,000. It's less than I pay Mrs. Patterson, and she does half what I'm asking from you. Ethan, you don't know anything about me. I know you have a master's degree in library science. I know you ran children's programs at Powell's Books. I know you sacrificed your job to care for your dying mother. He paused. I had someone run a background check this week after we met. The color drained further from her cheeks. You investigated me. I needed to know if I could trust you with my daughter. The answer is yes. Your record is spotless. Your former employers gave excellent references, and everything about your situation speaks to circumstances beyond your control, rather than poor judgment. She stood abruptly. That's incredibly invasive. It's careful. There's a difference. No. Sophia grabbed her plastic bag. This is some kind of rescue fantasy. Rich man saves poor woman. I'm not interested. I'm not trying to save you. I'm asking you to save my daughter. Ethan stood too, aware of Emma watching them with confusion. Look at her. Really look. She's 6 years old and she's forgotten how to be happy. Mrs. Patterson is efficient and cold. The after-school program is television and snacks. Emma needs someone who sees her as more than a task to manage. And you think I'm that person because I taught her to pick apples? I think you're that person because she smiled genuinely for the first time in 3 years. Because you're patient and kind and present, exactly what I said she needs. Sophia's hands trembled on the plastic bag. I can't be someone's charity case. Then don't be. This is a job offer. Housing plus salary in exchange for work. Nothing charity about it. You're a millionaire offering a homeless woman thousands of dollars and a place to live. That's charity no matter how you dress it up. Emma appeared at her father's side, looking between the adults with the worry of a child learning to read conflict. Did I do something wrong? No, baby. Ethan knelt down. Sophia and I are just talking about grown-up things. Are you leaving? Emma asked Sophia directly. Because you got sad again? Sophia's voice cracked. I just don't want to cause problems. You're not causing problems, Emma insisted. You're nice. Nicer than Mrs. Patterson. Mrs. Patterson never smiles. Emma, that's not kind. But it's true, Daddy. You said we should tell the truth. She turned back to Sophia. Please don't go. You make things better. The words hit Sophia visibly. She crouched down to Emma's level, tears threatening again. Sweetheart, you are incredibly sweet, but sometimes adults have to make complicated decisions. Is it because we have money and you don't? Emma's directness cut through every careful dance the adults had been performing. Because that's not fair. Daddy has lots of money. He should share. It's not about fair. My mommy used to say, if you can help someone, you should help them. Emma's voice went small. Before she died, she said being kind matters more than being right. Sophia looked at Ethan over his daughter's head. He saw the war in her expression. Pride battling necessity, distrust fighting desperate hope, the weight of 5 months sleeping rough against the offer of safety. 1 week, she said finally. Trial period. I stay in the guest house, help with Emma, and we see if this actually works. No money during the trial. If it doesn't work, I leave with no hard feelings. Those are my terms. Her jaw set. I'm not taking money until I prove I'm worth it. Ethan recognized the move, control in a situation where she had none, dignity carved from surrender. He could push back, but she'd refuse entirely. Better to accept this compromise. Okay, 1 week trial, but the guest house is fully stocked and you have full access to everything. Deal? Deal. Emma grabbed Sophia's hand. Does this mean you're coming home with us? Apparently, yes. The drive to West Hills took 20 minutes. Sophia sat in the passenger seat of the Audi, acutely aware of the heated leather, the dashboard display, the smooth silence of expensive engineering. Emma chattered from the back seat about her school and her friends and all the things she wanted to show Sophia. Ethan drove in silence, leaving Sophia space to process. The houses grew larger as they climbed the hills. Sprawling estates behind gates, mature trees, manicured lawns. The kind of neighborhood where Sophia had once driven through on her way to somewhere else, never imagining she'd end up here or anywhere like this. Ethan turned into a driveway that wound upward through landscape grounds. The main house appeared, modernist architecture, floor-to-ceiling windows, cedar and glass, in the kind of casual wealth that came from people who'd stopped thinking about money as something you worried about. This is where you live, she said it flat, still processing. This is where we live. He pulled around back where a separate building stood 50 feet from the main house, smaller but still larger than most Portland apartments. That's the guest house. He parked, helped Emma out of the back. The three of them stood in the driveway while Sophia tried to reconcile her bench at Division Street with this reality. Come on. Ethan produced keys, handed them to her. You should see inside before you agree to anything. The guest house door opened onto hardwood floors, an open-plan living area with kitchen, stairs leading to what must be bedrooms. Everything clean, everything modern, everything more than Sophia had occupied in the last 5 months combined. 2 bedrooms upstairs, Ethan explained. Bathroom with shower and tub. Kitchen is fully equipped. Internet and cable are connected. Washer and dryer in the closet. The code for the security system is on the counter. Sophia walked through in a daze, touched the granite countertop, looked at the refrigerator humming quietly, already stocked with basics. Milk, eggs, bread, butter, lunch meat. Her throat tightened. Emma tugged her hand. Do you like it? She couldn't finish, started to cry again. Different tears this time. Relief, disbelief, the physical weight of 5 months lifting it all at once. Ethan kept his distance, giving her space. Take whatever time you need. Emma's school starts Monday at 8:15. I'm usually gone by 6:30, but we've got the weekend to figure out logistics. Why are you doing this? Sophia turned to face him. Really, not the practiced answer, the truth. He was quiet for a long moment, looked at his daughter, then back at Sophia. 3 years ago, my wife died during what should have been routine surgery. I fell apart, completely. Would have stayed in that hospital room forever if my CFO hadn't physically dragged me out. Marcus showed up every day for 3 months, brought meals, watched Emma, sat with me when I couldn't speak, saved my life by refusing to let me disappear. So this is paying it forward. This is recognizing that sometimes people need help through no fault of their own, and having the resources to offer it. And if I fail, if I'm terrible with Emma or steal your things, then you leave and we both learn something. He headed toward the door, Emma following. But I don't think you'll fail, and I don't think you're here to steal anything except maybe some stability. At the door, Emma turned back. Sophia, can you have dinner with us tonight in the big house? Daddy ordered pizza because he can't cook good. Despite everything, Sophia laughed. Sure, I can have pizza. After they left, she stood in the center of the guest house living room. Listened to the silence. different from street silence, from shelter silence, from the tense quiet of not knowing where she'd sleep. This silence held safety. She climbed the stairs, found the bathroom, looked at herself in the mirror for the first time in weeks, really looked, saw the woman who'd been disappearing under layers of survival and exhaustion, saw someone who might remember how to be human again, turned on the shower, let it run hot while she undressed, stepped under water that didn't cut off after 3 minutes, didn't require quarters, didn't come with the fear of attack. Let it pour over her until the hot water tank emptied. Let herself believe, just for this moment, that maybe the falling had stopped. Downstairs, wrapped in a towel she found in the linen closet, she unpacked her plastic bag. The photograph went on the nightstand. Linda Kane smiling from before cancer, before everything broke. The clothes went in the washing machine because she could do laundry here, because she had access to soap and hot water and the dignity of clean clothing. She found sweats and a t-shirt in the bedroom closet. Men's large, probably something Ethan kept for guests, put them on, sat on the bed, let herself cry one more time because she was alone and safe and overwhelmed by the distance between waking up on a bench this morning and sitting in a guest house tonight. Her phone sat dead in her bag. She found the charger in the nightstand drawer, like Ethan had thought of everything, like this was planned rather than spontaneous. Plugged it in. Waited for the screen to light up. 7 missed calls from the hospital billing department. 12 texts from the shelter asking about bed reservation. 1 voicemail from 3 weeks ago. Powell's HR, probably finalizing her termination paperwork. She deleted them all. Whatever that life had been, it was over. This was something new, something fragile, something she'd probably break through her own inability to accept help. But for tonight, she'd pretend it might work. For tonight, she'd let herself be someone who lived in guest houses and helped with homework and ate pizza with a little girl who'd offered a hug to a stranger. The knock came at 6. Sophia opened the door to find Emma grinning, holding her father's hand. "Pizza's here. We got 3 kinds because Daddy didn't know what you like." The main house interior matched its exterior. Modern, expensive, somehow still feeling empty despite being full of furniture. Ethan had set up in the kitchen, boxes of pizza covering the granite island. The space could have hosted 50 people. Tonight it held 3. They ate mostly in silence. Emma chattered between bites, filling the quiet with stories from school. Ethan watched his daughter with the expression of someone memorizing something precious. Sophia ate slowly, savoring every bite, aware this might be temporary, but grateful for its existence. "Sophia," Emma said suddenly, "do you have kids?" "No, sweetheart." "Did you want them?" "Emma, that's personal," Ethan started. "It's okay." Sophia set down her pizza. "I haven't thought about it much. I was focused on my career, my mom, other things." "You'd be good at it," Emma announced with the certainty of youth. "You're nice and patient. Mrs. Patterson isn't patient. Mrs. Patterson is very professional. But she's not nice." Emma looked at her father. "You know she's not nice, Daddy." Ethan sighed. "We'll discuss Mrs. Patterson later." After dinner, Emma wanted to show Sophia her room. They climbed carpeted stairs to the 2nd floor, down a hallway lined with family photos. Ethan and Jennifer on their wedding day, Emma as a baby, the 3 of them at various locations looking genuinely happy before cancer took that away. Emma's room was every 6-year-old's dream. Princess bed, shelves overflowing with books, toys organized in bins, a reading nook by the window. But something about it felt sterile despite the abundance, like a room from a magazine rather than lived in. "Mrs. Patterson says I have to keep everything neat," Emma explained, "so I don't play with most of it." "That seems sad." "She says being organized is important." Sophia knelt down, meeting Emma's eyes. "Being organized is good, but being happy is better. Maybe we can find a way to do both." Emma's face lit up. "Really? Really?" They spent an hour going through books, Emma showing Sophia her favorites, Sophia suggesting new ones. They found common ground in Charlotte's Web and Matilda, made plans to read together. By the time Ethan appeared in the doorway, Emma was yawning. "Bedtime, baby." "But Sophia and I are talking about books, and you can talk more tomorrow." He entered the room, lifted Emma despite her protests. "Say goodnight." Good night, Sophia. Emma hugged her tight. I'm glad you're here. Me too, sweetheart. After Emma's door closed, Ethan walked Sophia back downstairs. At the front door, he paused. You're good with her. Better than I expected. I used to run programs for 40 kids at once. One 6-year-old is easy. She's not easy. She's grieving and lonely and learning to shut down emotionally because the adults around her have modeled that behavior. He met her eyes, which is why I need someone who can actually reach her. And you think I can do that because I'm also grieving and lonely? I think you can do that because you remember what it feels like to need kindness, and you give it naturally. Sophia looked away. Don't make me into something I'm not. I'm just trying to survive. We're all just trying to survive. He opened the door. Get some rest. We'll figure out schedules tomorrow. She stepped into the night air. The guest house lights glowed ahead. Behind her, the main house held a man and his daughter trying to rebuild after tragedy. Ahead, a bed that was hers for at least a week. All around, the strange physics of charity and need and the uncomfortable space between them. In the guest house, Sophia locked the door, set the security code Ethan had given her, climbed the stairs to the bedroom, got into bed wearing borrowed clothes surrounded by walls that weren't hers, trying to process how morning on a bench had become night in luxury. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Ethan, just making sure you have my contact. Let me know if you need anything. She typed back, I'm good. Thank you for today. His response came immediately. Thank you for saying yes. She set the phone down, turned off the light, lay in darkness trying to remember the last time she'd felt safe. Before her mother died, probably. Before the hospital bills. Before the eviction notice. Before the long slide into invisibility that defined homelessness. Maybe this would work. Maybe she'd prove capable and valuable and worthy of the second chance Ethan was offering. Or maybe she'd collapse under the weight of trauma and grief and the cognitive dissonance of moving from streets to mansion in a single day. But tonight, for the first time in 5 months, she fell asleep warm and sheltered and clean, dreaming of apple orchards and a small girl's laughter and the fragile possibility of futures that didn't end in despair. Across the property, Ethan stood at his bedroom window, watched the guest house lights go dark, wondered if he'd made the right decision or the most reckless one, thought about Victoria Chen questioning his judgment, about the board's concerns, about every reason this situation could explode, then remembered Emma's genuine smile today. The first in 3 years. That had to count for something. He turned from the window. Tomorrow would bring complications, logistics and boundaries, and the uncomfortable navigation of employer-employee relationships complicated by desperate circumstances. But tonight he'd sleep knowing his daughter had met someone kind, that someone hungry had eaten, that maybe 3 broken people could find something resembling stability together. In the darkness, he allowed himself to hope, just a little, just enough to get through another night of missing Jennifer and failing Emma and carrying the weight of decisions made alone. Tomorrow would tell him if hope was justified or just another form of delusion. Monday morning arrived with rain that hammered the guest house windows, typical Portland weather that matched nothing about Sophia's internal landscape. She woke to an alarm she'd set on her newly charged phone, disoriented by the softness of real sheets, the absence of fear that had defined every morning for 5 months. Sunlight filtered through curtains she'd actually closed the night before, a luxury so simple it had made her weep. The clock read 6:30. Ethan would already be gone. Emma needed to be ready by 8:15. Sophia showered quickly, dressed in the only clean clothes she owned, jeans and a sweater she'd washed last night and hung to dry. They still carried the worn look of garments that had survived rough living, but at least they were clean. She twisted her hair into a bun, studied her reflection. The woman staring back still looked haunted, hollowed out by recent months, but the edge of desperation had softened overnight. The main house kitchen smelled like coffee when she entered through the connecting door Ethan had shown her. Emma sat at the counter eating cereal, swinging her legs, humming something off-key. She looked up when Sophia approached. "You came. I thought maybe you left." The vulnerability in those words cut straight through. "I'm here for the week, remember? I keep my promises." Mrs. Patterson said that too, but sometimes she didn't come back after weekends. Sophia filed that information away. Another mark against the efficient, emotionless nanny. While I'm here, what do you usually do before school? Eat breakfast, brush teeth, and get my backpack ready. Mrs. Patterson checks everything 3 times. How about we check it once together? That sound okay? Emma nodded, spooning cereal. Daddy left a note for you on the counter. The note sat under a house key, Sophia. Emma's school is Bridal Mile Elementary, 15 minutes west. Pickup is 3:30 p.m. I'll be home around 7. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen. Ethan. Below that, a phone number labeled Marcus Hastings, CFO, emergency contact if you can't reach me. Sophia pocketed the key, poured herself coffee from the expensive machine she'd need YouTube tutorials to fully understand. Sat beside Emma while the girl finished breakfast, comfortable silence settling between them. At 8, they went through the morning routine. Emma brushed teeth in her bathroom, a space larger than some studio apartments Sophia had rented. They gathered her backpack, checked for homework and lunch money. Sophia found the Tesla key fob where Ethan had left it, studied the sleek electric SUV in the garage with something approaching panic. You okay? Emma stood beside her, perceptive beyond her years. I've never driven a car this nice. I'm afraid I'll scratch it. Daddy says cars are just metal. People matter more than things. Your daddy sounds smart. The drive to Bridal Mile Elementary required focus, learning the Tesla's controls while navigating unfamiliar roads in rain. Emma directed from the back seat, patient with Sophia's wrong turns. They arrived with 10 minutes to spare. Other parents dropping off their children glanced at the Tesla with recognition. This was West Hills, where luxury vehicles were standard rather than exceptional. Emma unbuckled herself. Will you be here at 3:30? I'll be here. Promise? Promise? Why are you? The girl studied her face, looking for cracks in the commitment, then nodded, satisfied. Bye, Sophia. Have a good day, sweetheart. Sophia watched Emma disappear into the building, surrounded by other children whose lives probably didn't include the instability that had marked Emma's recent years. Then she drove back to the estate, parked the Tesla carefully, and stood in the guest house trying to determine what unemployed homeless women did in mansions they didn't own. The obvious answer: clean, earn her keep, prove value. She started with the guest house, scrubbed the already clean bathroom, organized the already organized kitchen, made the bed with hospital corners she'd learned from her mother. Then moved to the main house, checking first that she wasn't overstepping boundaries. Ethan's note had said, help yourself to anything, which she interpreted as permission to be useful. The kitchen needed minor attention: dishes from last night's pizza, coffee grounds in the expensive machine, counters showing evidence of rushed morning routine. She cleaned methodically, finding rhythm in domestic tasks, muscle memory from caring for her mother returning. Emma's room revealed more about the girl's reality. Toys arranged in perfect rows, books alphabetized on shelves, not a single item out of place. The kind of order that suggested fear rather than preference. Sophia didn't disturb anything, not her place, not yet, but made mental notes about how a 6-year-old should be allowed to actually live in her space. By noon, she'd exhausted productive tasks, sat in the guest house kitchen with a sandwich she'd made from Ethan's groceries, feeling the strange displacement of eating someone else's food in someone else's home, while technically employed but also definitely charity case. The cognitive dissonance made her stomach hurt. Her phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. This is Marcus Hastings. Ethan asked me to check in. Everything okay? She typed back, all good. Dropped Emma at school. Back at the house now. Response came immediately. Glad it's working out. Ethan needs this. So does Emma. Sophia stared at that message. The weight it carried, Ethan needs this, suggesting her presence here served purposes beyond childcare. She wanted to reject that reading, but couldn't quite manage it. The afternoon stretched long. She walked the property boundaries, explored the garden that professional landscapers maintained, found a bench overlooking Portland spread below. From up here, the city looked orderly, comprehensible. Nothing like the maze it became at street level when you had no place to go. At 3, she drove back to Bridal Mile Elementary, parked among the other luxury vehicles, Audis, BMWs, the occasional Mercedes, and waited. Parents chatted in clusters, clearly knowing each other from school events and neighborhood proximity. Sophia stayed in the Tesla, aware she didn't belong to their world despite temporarily occupying its spaces. Emma emerged at 3:30 exactly, scanning the parking lot until she spotted the familiar vehicle. Her face lit up, genuine relief and pleasure as she ran toward the car. "You came!" "I promised. I told my friends about you, that you're helping my daddy and you know everything about books and apples." Sophia helped her buckle in. "What did they say?" "Maya asked if you're my new mommy. I said no, you're my friend who lives in the guest house." The clarification made sense, a 6-year-old's framework for understanding complicated adult arrangements. Sophia started the car. "Is that okay? That I'm your friend?" "Yeah, Mrs. Patterson was never my friend. She was just there." They drove home through rain that had intensified. Emma chattered about her day, math problems she'd solved, a book the teacher read, drama at lunch involving trading snacks. Sophia listened, asked questions, marveled at how this small person already navigated complex social dynamics. At the house, they settled into homework at the kitchen counter. Emma spread papers showing addition problems, reading comprehension questions. Sophia reviewed each assignment, offering help without solving things for her. The girl worked diligently, stopping occasionally to ask questions that revealed intelligence paired with careful uncertainty. "Mrs. Patterson always checked my work 3 times, Emma mentioned, "even when I got everything right." "How did that make you feel?" "Like maybe I was doing it wrong even if it was right." "How about we check it once together? If you've done your best, that's enough." Emma looked skeptical but nodded. They reviewed the math, all correct. The reading comprehension needed one answer expanded. 20 minutes of focused work, then finished. "Can we cook dinner?" Emma asked. "Real cooking, not microwave?" "What does your dad usually eat?" "Takeout mostly, or frozen things. He says he doesn't have time to cook." Sophia checked the refrigerator, well-stocked despite Ethan's apparent lack of cooking habits. Chicken breasts, fresh vegetables, pasta? "How about chicken and pasta with vegetables? Think your dad would like that?" "He'd like anything that's not from a container." They worked together, Sophia teaching Emma to rinse vegetables, measure pasta, set the table. The girl absorbed instruction like someone starved for this kind of attention. By 6:30, the house smelled like garlic and herbs instead of the sterile nothing that had greeted Sophia that morning. Ethan arrived at 7:15, tie loosened, exhaustion written across his features. He stopped in the kitchen doorway, taking in the scene. His daughter helping set silverware, Sophia stirring sauce, the domestic normalcy he had been missing for 3 years. "Something smells amazing." Emma ran to hug him. "Sophia taught me how to cook. Real cooking." "I see that." He met Sophia's eyes over his daughter's head. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to. Part of the trial week, right? Proving I'm useful." "You're already proving that." They ate at the kitchen table, smaller than the formal dining room, more intimate. Emma recounted her school day with the enthusiasm of a child who had audience for it. Ethan listened, asked questions, occasionally glanced at Sophia with expressions she couldn't quite decode. Gratitude mixed with something else. Concern, maybe. Or awareness that this arrangement crossed lines neither of them had mapped. After dinner, Emma wanted to show Sophia her book collection again. They disappeared upstairs while Ethan cleaned the kitchen, his insistence despite Sophia's protests. When he finished, he found them in Emma's room, deep in discussion about Matilda versus Charlotte's Web for bedtime reading. "Matilda tonight," Emma announced. "Charlotte can be tomorrow." Sophia read 2 chapters, doing voices for Miss Trunchbull that made Emma giggle. When she reached a natural stopping point, Emma's eyes were already heavy. "Bedtime, baby." Ethan appeared in the doorway. "What more min—" "Now, but Sophia can read more tomorrow." Emma hugged Sophia hard. "Thank you for today. It was really good." "You're welcome, sweetheart. Sleep well." Downstairs, Sophia gathered her things to return to the guest house. Ethan walked her to the connecting door. "Today went well." He said it carefully, like testing weight on uncertain ground. "Emma's wonderful, easy to be around." "She likes you. That's not common." He paused. "Mrs. Patterson was here 6 months. Emma never hugged her once. Maybe Mrs. Patterson didn't need hugs. Maybe Emma did." The implication hung between them, that he'd known his child care arrangement was inadequate, that he'd chosen efficiency over emotion, That guilt drove more of this decision than he'd admitted. Ethan, why did you really hire me? Not the practiced answer, the true one. He was quiet for long enough that Sophia thought he wouldn't respond. Then, because when Jennifer died, I stopped being present for Emma. I went through motions, hired nannies, enrolled her in programs, wrote checks, but I wasn't there. Not emotionally. I buried myself in work because it was easier than facing what I'd lost. And Emma learned from that. Learned to shut down, to not need things, to be small and quiet and manageable. That's not her fault. It's mine. I know that. He looked directly at her. You being here, someone warm and engaged and actually seeing her, maybe it helps her remember she's allowed to be a kid, to need things, to be messy and loud and present. That's a lot of pressure to put on a stranger you met 3 days ago. I know that too. Sophia studied his face, the exhaustion, the hope, the desperation poorly hidden behind CEO composure. I'll try my best. That's all I can promise. That's all I'm asking. She left through the connecting door, crossing the distance to the guest house through rain that showed no signs of stopping. Inside, she stripped off damp clothes, showered in the bathroom that still felt impossibly luxurious, and lay in bed trying to process day one of her new reality. It had gone well, better than well. Emma responded to her, Ethan seemed satisfied, and she'd spent a day doing meaningful work instead of surviving. But underneath ran current of unease she couldn't name. The awareness that this wasn't stable, that trial weeks could end badly, that she was one mistake away from being back on that bus stop bench. That kind of knowledge didn't evaporate after one good day. Her phone buzzed. Text from Ethan. Thank you for today. Emma was happier than I've seen her in a long time. She sent back, she makes it easy. Then lay in darkness, listening to rain, trying to remember the last time she'd felt this particular combination of grateful and terrified. The second week established patterns. Sophia woke before Emma, made coffee in the main house, prepared breakfast. They developed morning routines, checking homework, planning the day, the kind of small rituals that gave structure to childhood. Emma bloomed under consistent attention, grew louder and more animated, started leaving her room messy in ways that suggested increasing comfort. Ethan left early each morning, returned late most evenings. When he was home, he engaged fully, asked about Emma's day, helped with homework, read bedtime stories. But the exhaustion never left his features, and Sophia noticed how often his phone interrupted family time with emergencies that apparently couldn't wait. By week 3, Sophia had stopped thinking about the guest house as temporary. She'd unpacked the few belongings she owned, bought new clothes with her first paycheck, established her own rhythms. The library where she'd once worked welcomed her back as a volunteer on Saturday mornings. Just a few hours helping with children's programs, reconnecting with work she'd loved. Marcus Hastings visited one afternoon during week 4. Showed up unannounced while Sophia was helping Emma with a science project in the kitchen. He was tall, late 30s, with the sharp awareness of someone who'd made career of reading people. You must be Sophia. And you're Marcus. Ethan's talked about you. He accepted coffee, sat at the counter while Emma glued popsicle sticks onto cardboard. Says you're working out well. I hope so. Amma looks happy. That's not nothing. They talked while Emma focused on her project. Marcus asking careful questions about Sophia's background, her plans, how she was adjusting. Not aggressive, but thorough. Sophia recognized the evaluation happening beneath polite conversation. You're protective of him, she said finally. That's good. He seems like he needs that. Ethan's been through hell, came out functional but not whole. Marcus set down his coffee. I'm sure he told you about Jennifer. Some, that she died during surgery. Blood clot to the lung. Random, unpredictable, nobody's fault. She went in for gallbladder removal at 9 a.m., gone by noon. Ethan had 45 minutes to say goodbye to someone who was unconscious. He paused. He hasn't been the same since. Works constantly because stillness means feeling, and feeling means remembering. Why are you telling me this? Because you're in his house, taking care of his daughter, and I need to know you understand what you're dealing with. Ethan's not going to open up easily. He's not going to admit he needs help. But he does. Both of them do, and right now you're providing something critical. I'm just the nanny. You're more than that already. Marcus stood. Just be careful. With Emma's feelings and with Ethan's. They're both more fragile than they appear. After he left, Emma looked up from her project. Uncle Marcus is nice, but he asks lots of questions. He cares about you and your dad. Do you care about us? The directness of it caught Sophia unprepared. She knelt beside Emma's chair. Yes, I do. Good, because we care about you too. That evening, after Emma went to bed, Ethan found Sophia cleaning the kitchen. Marcus stopped by. He did. What did he say? That you've been through hell, that you and Emma are both fragile, that I should be careful with you. Ethan leaned against the counter. He worries too much. Does he? Because from where I'm standing, he might not worry enough. What's that supposed to mean? Sophia faced him directly. You work 16-hour days, you come home exhausted, your phone never stops. Emma told me you fell asleep during bedtime story 3 times last week. She softened her voice. You're running yourself into the ground. I have a company to run. You have a daughter to raise. Those things aren't the same. You've been here a month. You don't know what you're talking about. I know what burnout looks like. I watched my mother work herself to death trying to be enough for everyone else. I know what happens when you sacrifice everything for external success while internal life falls apart. Ethan's jaw tightened. This isn't the same. Isn't it? Your wife died, so you threw yourself into work. My mother died, so I threw myself into caregiving until I lost everything. Different mechanisms, same avoidance. I'm not avoiding. Then why can't Emma remember the last time you took her somewhere that wasn't a necessity? When's the last morning you had breakfast together? When did you last take a full weekend off? The questions landed hard. Ethan turned away. I'm doing my best. I know, but your best is still destroying you. Silence stretched between them. Sophia aware she'd overstepped, Ethan processing challenges he'd been avoiding. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its defensive edge. I don't know how to do it differently. The company needs me. Emma needs me. I'm one person trying to be enough for everything. Maybe you need to let go of some control. Trust that the company can function without you present every second. Victoria Chen's been pushing for exactly that. For me to step back, let other people lead. Is that bad? It might be necessary. He met her eyes. I'm considering it. Reducing my role. Marcus could handle day-to-day operations. I'd stay on as chairman, but not CEO. What's stopping you? Fear that stepping back means admitting defeat. That Jennifer built this with me, and walking away dishonors her memory. Sophia moved closer, not touching, but present. Or maybe honoring her memory means choosing your daughter over the company. Being the father Emma needs instead of the CEO everyone wants. That sounds easy in theory. Nothing about this is easy, but Emma's 6. You get one chance at these years. Ethan rubbed his face, exhaustion showing through. How did you get so wise about things you've never experienced? Watching my mother choose duty over self-care until cancer took the choice away. Learning every lesson too late to apply it to the person who needed it most. They stood in the kitchen, 2 people marked by loss, trying to build something functional from broken pieces. Then Ethan did something unexpected. Reached out, squeezed her shoulder briefly, let go. Thank you for caring enough to say hard things. That's what friends do. Is that what we are? Friends? I don't know what we are. Employer-employee feels too formal. But whatever this is, it matters. He nodded slowly. Yeah, it does. Week 6 brought the first real crisis. Victoria Chen called an emergency board meeting, demanding Ethan's presence at 6 a.m. for unspecified urgent matters. He left while Emma slept, texted Sophia around noon. Meeting went badly. We'll be late tonight. Details emerged over the following days. Victoria had presented evidence of Ethan's reduced engagement, questioning his fitness to lead. Mentioned his personal life, implied his judgment was compromised. The board didn't vote to remove him, but the threat hung obvious. Ethan came home that night after 10, looking hollowed out. Sophia was still awake in the main house kitchen, having stayed late after putting Emma to bed. She made him tea without asking, set it in front of him. Victoria's trying to force you out. She's been trying for years. Now she has ammunition. I'm less present, more distracted, making decisions that prioritize stability over aggressive expansion. Because you're trying to have a life outside work. Because I'm trying to be a father. He wrapped his hands around the mug. But she's not wrong that I've been less effective. Deals I would have pursued 2 years ago, I'm passing on. Risks I would have taken, I'm avoiding. That's called maturity, not weakness. The board sees it as weakness. Then maybe the board needs different leadership. He looked at her, something shifting in his expression. Marcus said the same thing this afternoon, that I should step down as CEO, let him run operations, stay on as chairman with reduced hours. What did you say? That I'd think about it. He sipped tea. Jennifer and I built this company from nothing. Walking away feels like betraying her. Or maybe it's honoring what she'd actually want, you being present for Emma instead of sacrificing your daughter on the altar of corporate success. You talk about Emma like she's yours. The observation stopped Sophia cold. I don't mean, it's not a criticism. I'm saying you care about her like family. That matters more than any board meeting. She's easy to care about. So are you. The words hung between them, carrying the weight neither acknowledged. Sophia stood abruptly. It's late. I should go. Sophia, good night, Ethan. She left before the conversation could evolve into something neither was ready to name. In the guest house, she lay awake processing what had almost been said, what the implications might mean, why her heart was beating faster than the moment warranted. This was employment. He was grieving his wife. She was rebuilding from devastation. Nothing about their circumstances created foundation for anything beyond professional arrangement. But professional arrangements didn't usually feature midnight tea and unguarded vulnerability, didn't involve caring for someone's childlike family, didn't include the kind of eye contact that suggested mutual recognition of something neither could afford to acknowledge. Sophia forced herself to sleep. Tomorrow would bring its own complications. Tonight's could wait. The following Monday, Ethan called a board meeting, announced his intention to step down as CEO, transition to chairman role with dramatically reduced hours. Marcus would assume operational leadership. The decision was effective immediately. Victoria Chen smiled like she'd won. Marcus accepted the promotion with quiet confidence. The other board members processed the shift with varying reactions: surprise, relief, concern about company direction under new leadership. Ethan came home at 3 that afternoon, the earliest he'd been home on a weekday in 3 years. Found Sophia and Emma in the backyard starting a garden. They'd marked out beds, purchased soil and seeds, were planning what to plant. Emma saw him first. "Daddy, you're home. Look what we're doing." He knelt beside his daughter, examining the garden plan she'd drawn. "This is wonderful. What are you planting?" "Tomatoes and peppers and herbs. Sophia says we can grow our own food." "She's right." He looked at Sophia over Emma's head. "I did it. Stepped down." "How do you feel?" "Terrified, relieved, not sure which is stronger." "Give it time." They worked in the garden together until dinner, the three of them digging and planting, getting dirt under fingernails, laughing at Emma's enthusiasm. Something shifted in the air, possibilities opening that hadn't existed before. Ethan present not because he'd carved out an hour, but because he had actual time, space to breathe, permission to be human instead of corporate machine. At dinner, Emma announced, "This is the best day. Daddy's home and we're gardening and everything's good." "It really is good," Ethan agreed, thanks to Sophia. "I just planted seeds." "You did more than that." The look he gave her carried something new, warmth that went beyond gratitude, awareness that went beyond employer-employee. Sophia felt it land in her chest, dangerous and welcome in equal measure. After Emma slept, they sat on the back porch, watching Portland lights spread below. The kind of comfortable silence that only came from people growing familiar with each other's presence. "I need to tell you something." Ethan's voice came quiet. "Victoria did more than question my leadership. She hired investigators, found out about you, your background, your homelessness, the circumstances that brought you here." Sophia's stomach dropped. "Why?" "To undermine my judgment, show the board I was making reckless decisions, bringing unstable people into my home." "And what did the board say?" Marcus shut it down, showed them your background check. Education, work history, the fact that your situation resulted from caregiving rather than poor choices. Reminded them that who I employ in my private life isn't board business. But the damage is done. Victoria lost that battle, but she'll keep trying to use anything against me. He turned toward her. I need you to know, if this arrangement puts you at risk, if having your history exposed publicly would hurt you, I'll understand if you need to leave. Leave Emma, leave here. Sophia shook her head. This is the first stable thing I've had in a year. I'm not walking away because some board member doesn't like me. It might get messier. Let it. I've survived worse than corporate politics. Ethan smiled, genuine, reaching his eyes. Thank you for staying, for everything. Where else would I go? The question was rhetorical, but Ethan answered anyway. Anywhere you wanted. You're capable and intelligent. You could rebuild independently. Maybe, but I don't want to. She met his eyes. I care about Emma, and She stopped, words catching on the edge of admission she wasn't ready to make. You what? I care about you too. Both of you, this family. It matters to me. You matter to us, more than you probably know. The moment stretched, something unspoken shifting between them. Then Emma called from inside, bad dream, needing comfort, and they both stood, the spell breaking. Sophia went inside, left Ethan on the porch, aware they had crossed another invisible line toward territory neither had mapped, but both were starting to recognize. Month 3 brought spring. The garden flourished. Emma's reading improved dramatically. Ethan settled into his reduced role, learning to trust Marcus with daily operations. Family dinners became routine. Weekend trips to the farmer's market resumed. Life achieved a rhythm that felt sustainable, almost normal. Sophia enrolled in online courses to complete her teaching certification. Next step toward building independent career beyond nannying. Ethan insisted on paying tuition, framing it as investment in Emma's education. Sophia accepted after token protest, learning to receive help without shame. They existed in careful balance, aware of growing feelings neither acknowledged, maintaining boundaries that protected Emma while allowing adult connection to deepen. Ethan took Sophia's advice on parenting decisions. Sophia deferred to Ethan on household rules. They functioned as team, partnership evolving organically from necessity into something more deliberate. Then Mother's Day arrived. Emma brought home an assignment from school, make a card for your mother. She came into the kitchen where Sophia was preparing dinner, holding the blank card, expression caught between confusion and sadness. I don't know what to do. Sophia dried her hands. What do you mean? The card is for mothers. I don't have a mother. Emma's voice went small. My mommy's in heaven. That's true, but you can still make a card for her. Tell her you love her, that you remember her. But where do I put it? Wherever feels right. Some people put them at graves. Some keep them in special places. What would feel good to you? Emma thought hard. By my bed, so I can tell her about my day. That sounds perfect. They worked on the card together, Emma drawing flowers, writing, I love you, Mommy, in careful letters. Sophia helped with spelling, fought back tears at the pure grief of a 6-year-old missing someone she barely remembered. Ethan came home during this process, saw them at the kitchen table, understood immediately what was happening. His face went tight with barely controlled emotion. Can you help me put it by my bed? Emma asked her father. So Mommy can see it from heaven? Yeah, baby, we can do that. He carried her upstairs. Sophia heard their voices, Emma asking if Mommy would like the card, Ethan assuring her Jennifer would love it, both of them crying a little. When he came back down, his eyes were red. Thank you for helping her with that. It's what she needed. You're good at knowing what she needs. So are you just forget sometimes. He moved closer, standing at the edge of personal space. Sophia, I need to tell you something. Okay. These past 3 months, having you here, it's changed everything. Emma's happier than I've seen her since Jennifer died. The house feels like a home instead of just a place we sleep. I'm actually present in my life instead of hiding in work. That's good. And you, he paused, searching for words. You've become more than Emma's caregiver, more than someone I employ. You're part of this family, part of our lives in ways I didn't expect and can't imagine losing. Sophia's heart hammered. Ethan, I know the timing's terrible. I know I'm your employer and you're rebuilding and everything about this is complicated. But I need you to know I care about you as more than just someone taking care of Emma, as more than just a friend. The confession hung between them, dangerous, desired, impossible to take back. Sophia felt tears rising. I care about you too, but this is complicated. I know. Emma needs stability. I need stability. We can't risk what we have for something that might not work. You're right, he stepped back. I shouldn't have said anything. No, I'm glad you did, but we need to be careful, for Emma's sake. Always. He managed a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Forget I said anything. We'll keep things professional. But they both knew that ship had sailed, that something had shifted fundamentally, that whatever carefully maintained boundaries they had established were dissolving under pressure of proximity and care, and the kind of recognition that came from two broken people finding unexpected wholeness together. Sophia excused herself to the guest house. Lay in bed processing the conversation, feeling the weight of Ethan's admission pressing against her chest. She cared about him, more than cared, if she was honest. Watched him with Emma, and saw the kind of father she'd want for her own children someday. Sat with him in the evenings and felt more at home than she had in her own apartment before everything collapsed. But wanting something didn't make it possible. She was still rebuilding from devastation. He was still grieving his wife. Emma was still a child who needed consistency more than romantic complications. They'd have to navigate this carefully, maintain distance while living in close proximity, acknowledge feelings while refusing to act on them. It should have been simple. Sophia had survived homelessness. Surely she could manage unfulfilled attraction while maintaining professional boundaries. Except nothing about this was simple, and the way Ethan looked at her suggested he found it equally complicated. That night she dreamed of her mother. They sat in the old apartment, before the cancer, before everything broke. Linda Kane smiled at her daughter and spoke in the voice Sophia missed desperately. Sometimes the right thing comes at the wrong time. That doesn't make it less right. Just means you have to be patient while the timing catches up. She woke to sunlight streaming through windows, her phone showing messages she'd missed during the night. One from Ethan, sent at 2 a.m. I meant what I said, but I won't push. We'll figure this out. Another from Marcus. Whatever's happening between you two, and I'm not blind, be careful. Emma needs you both stable more than she needs you together. Sophia didn't respond to either. Showered, dressed, crossed to the main house. Found Ethan making breakfast for Emma, acting like last night's confession hadn't happened. They moved around each other carefully, professionally, while Emma remained oblivious to undercurrents. But when Emma left to brush teeth, Ethan caught Sophia's hand briefly. Squeezed once. Let go. The gesture said everything words couldn't. I meant it. I'm waiting. I'm here. Sophia squeezed back. Acknowledgement. Agreement. Shared hope that timing would eventually cooperate. Then they returned to their careful dance, employer and employee, family and strangers, something undefined that was slowly becoming impossible to ignore. The garden grew. Emma flourished. Spring became summer, and between them, unspoken feelings took root like seeds planted in fertile ground, waiting for permission to break surface and bloom. July heat pressed down on Portland, rare and oppressive. The garden Emma and Sophia had planted months ago exploded with the produce, tomatoes ripening on vines, peppers turning from green to red, herbs fragrant enough to scent the entire backyard. Emma checked the plants daily, reporting to Sophia with scientific precision about growth rates and harvest timing. The girl had transformed over 6 months, louder, messier, confident in ways that spoke to stability, finally taking root. Sophia stood in the guest house bathroom, staring at the pregnancy test with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Impossible. They'd been careful about boundaries, hadn't crossed lines beyond that single conversation on Mother's Day. Except for the night 3 weeks ago when Emma slept at a friend's house and Ethan invited Sophia to dinner. Real dinner, not family routine, but something that felt dangerously like a date. When wine softened edges and conversation deepened into territory they'd been avoiding. When he'd kissed her goodnight at the guest house door and she'd pulled him inside instead of maintaining professional distance. One night, one moment of weakness when loneliness and attraction overwhelmed common sense. The test showed two lines: positive, undeniable. Sophia sat on the edge of the bathtub, phone in her hand, no idea who to call. Her mother was dead. She had no close friends left after months of homelessness burned those bridges. Ethan was the obvious choice, except telling him meant detonating the careful stability they'd built. Emma depended on that stability. Sophia's entire rebuilt life depended on it. She could end this. Portland had clinics, resources, no judgment, no complications. Return to the equilibrium they'd established, where feelings existed but stayed carefully managed. But her hand moved to her stomach. Instinctive protection. This wasn't planned, wasn't wanted in any rational sense. Yet the thought of erasing it felt wrong in ways she couldn't articulate. A knock at the guest house door. Emma's voice. "Sophia, Daddy says it's garden time." Sophia shoved the test into the trash, buried it under tissues, washed her face, forced brightness into her voice. "Coming, sweetheart." The garden work provided distraction. Emma harvested tomatoes with the seriousness of someone performing surgery. Ethan arrived home early, new routine since stepping down as CEO, and joined them in the dirt. They worked in comfortable silence, the kind of family ease that made Sophia's secret feel like betrayal. At dinner, Emma announced, "Maya's birthday party is next Saturday. Can Sophia come too?" Maya's mom said families are invited. Ethan glanced at Sophia. "Would you want to? If it's appropriate." Maya's mom specifically asked if you'd be there. "Apparently, Emma talks about you constantly." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "I told everyone you're the best, that you know everything about books and cooking and how to make things grow." The love in the child's voice made Sophia's chest tighten. She was building family with these people. Had been for months without fully acknowledging it. The pregnancy complicated everything, but also clarified what she had been too afraid to name. She wanted this. Wanted Ethan. Wanted Emma. Wanted the life they were carefully constructing. That night after Emma slept, Ethan found Sophia in the kitchen. They'd developed a pattern of these late conversations, processing the day, planning tomorrow, existing in the in-between space where they acknowledged feelings without acting on them. "You seem distant at dinner." He leaned against the counter, studying her face. "Everything okay?" "Just tired." "Sophia, talk to me. What's wrong?" She couldn't tell him, not yet. Needed time to process, to make decisions, to understand what she wanted before introducing his needs into the equation. "Nothing's wrong, I promise." He moved closer, reading deception in her evasion. "We said we'd be honest with each other." "I am being honest. I'm tired. It's been a long week." "Is this about us? About what happened?" "No," and she softened her tone. "That night was good. It didn't change anything. Except it had changed everything. Created life where none existed before. Bound them together in ways that went beyond employment or attraction." Ethan reached for her hand, intertwining fingers. "I need you to know something. What's between us, whatever we're calling it, it matters to me. More than I've let anyone matter since Jennifer." "Ethan, let me finish. I know the timing's complicated. I know we're navigating careful boundaries for Emma's sake. But 6 months ago, I was barely surviving. Going through motions of life without actually living. You changed that. Made me remember what it feels like to be present, to care about more than just the next meeting or project." Sophia felt tears rising. "You're making this harder." "Making what harder?" "Maintaining distance when all I want is to close it." He pulled her closer, voice dropping. "Then close it. Sophia, we've been dancing around this for months. Emma adores you. He stopped, reconsidered. "I love you. There, I said it. I love you, and I don't want to pretend anymore that this is just employment or friendship or anything other than what it actually is." The confession landed like physical force. Sophia wanted to say it back, wanted to tell him about the pregnancy, wanted to collapse into his arms and let him carry some of the weight she'd been managing alone. But fear held her frozen. Fear of his reaction, fear of losing what they had, fear that this fragile construction would shatter under pressure of reality. I need time, she managed, to think about what this means. For Emma, for us, for everything. Disappointment flickered across his features, quickly masked. Okay, take the time you need, but Sophia, I meant what I said. I'm not going anywhere. She fled to the guest house before emotion overwhelmed composure. Lay in bed processing his declaration, hand on her stomach, trying to calculate paths forward. Tell him now, risk everything on his reaction. Wait until she'd made her own decision. Maintain control, but build relationship on omission. Disappear entirely. Protect them from complications she'd introduced. None of the options felt right. All carried consequences she couldn't fully predict. Her phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. Need to talk to you, tomorrow if possible. It's important. Sophia stared at the message, dread pooling in her gut. Marcus knew something, had noticed her distance or Ethan's changed behavior, or simply used his analytical skills to piece together what was happening. She texted back, "Okay, coffee tomorrow at 10?" Response came immediately. "See you then." Sleep came in fragments. She woke before dawn, nauseous for the first time. Pregnancy announcing itself in ways that couldn't be ignored. Made it to the bathroom before vomiting. Cleaned up. Stared at her reflection and saw the inevitable truth. This secret had expiration date. Bodies told their own stories. At 9:30, she left Emma with Ethan for the morning and drove to the coffee shop where she'd agreed to meet Marcus. Found him already there, occupying a corner table, 2 cups waiting. "I ordered for you, decaf latte." His eyes held knowing weight. Seemed appropriate. Sophia sat slowly. "What do you want to talk about? When were you planning to tell him?" The question hit direct, no preamble, no pretense. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sophia, I'm not stupid, and I care about both of you enough to address this before it explodes." He leaned forward. "I've noticed how you've been avoiding wine at dinner, how you're exhausted despite sleeping full nights, the way you put your hand on your stomach when you think no one's watching. I have 3 sisters. I know what early pregnancy looks like." Tears threatened. Sophia blinked them back. "Does Ethan know you're here?" "No, this is me, as someone who cares about you both, asking what you're planning to do. I found out 2 days ago. I haven't had time to plan anything." "But you're thinking about not telling him." "I'm thinking about a lot of things." Marcus was quiet for a moment, sipping coffee. "You know, I investigated you when Ethan first brought you here. It's what I do, protect people I care about. I found someone who'd lost everything through no fault of her own, who'd sacrificed her career and stability to care for a dying parent. Someone strong and capable who just needed a chance. Why are you telling me this?" "Because I need you to understand, whatever you decide about this pregnancy, you are not alone. You have resources now, support, people who care what happens to you." He met her eyes. "But keeping this from Ethan is a mistake. He deserves to know, and you deserve his support. What if telling him ruins everything? What if he feels trapped, or obligated, or decides this is too complicated? Then you'll know where you stand. But Sophia, Ethan loves you. Anyone watching you two together can see it. This pregnancy might be unexpected, but it's not unwanted, not really. You don't know that. I know him, known him 15 years. He's been hollow since Jennifer died. You brought him back, Emma back, this family back. A baby doesn't threaten that. It completes it." Sophia wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that revelation wouldn't detonate the careful life she'd rebuilt. But trust was expensive commodity when you'd lost everything once before. "I'll tell him," she said finally. "Soon. I just need to figure out how." "Don't wait too long. Secrets have weight. They crush things if you're not careful." They finished coffee in relative silence. Marcus walked her to her car, hugged her briefly, unexpected gesture from someone usually so controlled. "Whatever happens, you've got family now, remember that." The drive back to the house took 15 minutes that felt like hours. Sophia found Ethan and Emma in the living room, building an elaborate Lego structure. Emma waved enthusiastically. "Look what we made. It's a castle with a garden. It's beautiful." Ethan glanced up, reading something in her expression. "Everything okay? How was coffee with Marcus?" "Fine, just catching up." The lie tasted bitter. She excused herself to the guest house, citing headache. Lay in bed trying to find courage that kept slipping away. Saturday arrived with Maya's birthday party. They dressed in casual summer clothes, Emma in a yellow sundress she'd chosen herself, Sophia in jeans and a loose top that disguised the slight bloating that had already begun. Ethan drove them to Maya's house in West Hills, 2 streets over from their own. The party sprawled across a backyard equipped with bounce house, pool, and enough decorations to suggest event planner involvement. Maya's mother, Jennifer, which felt like cruel coincidence, greeted them warmly. "You must be Sophia. Maya's talked about you constantly. Emma says you're teaching her to garden?" "We're learning together." "Well, come in." Adults are gathering on the deck while kids destroy the bounce house. The other parents welcome them into the circle. Wealthy West Hills families whose lives looked effortless in ways Sophia knew were deceptive. Everyone struggled, just with different resources for managing the struggle. She fielded questions about her role in Ethan's household with practiced vagueness, aware that single father with live-in female employee generated certain assumptions. Ethan stayed close, protective in ways that felt territorial. When one father made comment about convenient arrangement, Ethan's response came sharp. "Sophia's family. That's not convenient. It's essential." The declaration in front of witnesses felt significant. Several parents exchanged knowing looks. Sophia felt exposed and cherished simultaneously. The party proceeded through typical chaos: cake, presents, swimming. Emma glowed in her element, surrounded by friends, confident and loud. Sophia watched her from the deck, hand unconsciously on her stomach again. "She's come so far." Ethan appeared beside her. "I barely recognize her from 6 months ago. She just needed permission to be herself. You gave her that, among other things." They stood in comfortable silence, watching children play. Then Ethan spoke quietly, voice meant only for her. "I need to tell you something. Victoria Chen contacted me this week. She's planning to sue for wrongful termination. Claims stepping down as CEO was board coercion rather than voluntary choice." "That's ridiculous. It's also expensive and time-consuming to fight. My lawyers say we'll win, but the process will be ugly. She'll drag up everything, including you, including our arrangement, including speculation about our relationship." Sophia's stomach dropped. "She'll make it look like She'll try, but Marcus has documentation of everything. Your employment contract, background check, salary records. Nothing about this is illegal or unethical, just unconventional." "Unconventional doesn't play well in court. Let me worry about that. I just wanted you to know before it gets messy." The timing couldn't be worse. Lawsuit plus pregnancy plus undeclared feelings. Perfect storm of complications that could destroy everything. Sophia felt panic rising, fought to keep it off her face. They drove home in thoughtful silence, Emma exhausted in the back seat. At the house, Ethan carried his sleeping daughter to bed, while Sophia retreated to the guest house. Sat on the couch, head in hands, trying to determine next move. The knock came 20 minutes later. "Ethan," expression serious. "Can we talk?" "Now's not great timing." "It never is, but we keep putting this off, and it's making everything harder." He entered without waiting for permission, sat across from her. "Marcus told me he had coffee with you, said you seemed stressed. What's going on?" "He shouldn't have. He cares about you, so do I, and something's clearly wrong." Ethan leaned forward. "Sophia, please, whatever it is, we'll handle it together." The words broke something in her. Tears spilled over, relief, fear, exhaustion combining into emotional overflow she couldn't control. Ethan moved immediately, sitting beside her, pulling her into his arms. "Hey, it's okay. Whatever this is, we'll figure it out." "You can't promise that." "Try me." She pulled back enough to see his face, found nothing but concern and love in his expression, took shaking breath, spoke words that would change everything. "I'm pregnant." The silence stretched eternal. Ethan's face cycled through shock, confusion, understanding, calculation. "Pregnant." "About 3 weeks from that night. I just found out a few days ago. And you didn't tell me. I was scared of your reaction, of what it means, of losing everything we've built." He stood abruptly, paced to the window, back, processing. She watched him work through implications, saw the moment he landed on the critical question. What do you want to do? His voice came carefully neutral. I don't know. I wasn't planning this. I'm barely stable myself. The timing's impossible with Victoria's lawsuit, but her hand moved to her stomach. I can't imagine not keeping it. Okay, 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 you're pregnant. We'll figure it out. That's it? You're not angry or panicked or I'm terrified, but also, he knelt in front of her, taking her hands. Also happy. This is unexpected, but Sophia, I meant what I said about loving you. A baby doesn't change that. It accelerates the timeline, but the destination's the same. What destination? The one where we stop pretending this is temporary, where you're not just Emma's caregiver, but part of this family officially, where we build something permanent instead of dancing around what we both want. You're talking about marriage. Eventually, yes, when you're ready, when Emma's ready, but first, he released one hand to touch her stomach. First, we focus on this, on making sure you are healthy and supported and not carrying this alone. The relief was overwhelming. Sophia collapsed against him, sobbing with the release of days of isolated fear. He held her, murmuring reassurances, solid and present, in ways that made her remember why she'd fallen for him in the first place. When she could speak again, Marcus said, you deserve to know that I had family now. Marcus is smart and right. You're not alone anymore. What about Emma? She's going to have questions. We'll tell her together, soon. But first you need to see a doctor, get proper prenatal care established. Then we figure out the rest. They sat on the couch, Sophia curled into Ethan's side, planning practicalities, appointments, timing. How to explain to a 6-year-old that her world was expanding again. Victoria's lawsuit existed as background threat, but in this moment it felt manageable compared to the immediate weight of pregnancy revelation. Eventually, Ethan asked the question she'd been dreading. Do you regret it? That night? No, I regret the timing, the complications, but not the night itself, not this. She touched her stomach. Is that crazy? It's human and honest. He kissed her forehead. I don't regret it either. Any of it. They talked until midnight. Hopes, fears, logistics. Made plans to tell Emma after the first doctor's appointment, confirmed everything was progressing normally. Decided to keep the news from Marcus and others until they'd navigated the first trimester. Acknowledged that Victoria's lawsuit would get uglier when pregnancy became obvious. At the door, Ethan pulled her close. I love you. That doesn't change based on circumstances. I love you too. I have for a while. How long? Since Mother's Day. When you helped Emma with that card and cried with her, when I saw how much you loved her despite your grief. He smiled against her hair. So we're doing this, actually doing this. Apparently we are. Then we do it right. No more hiding, no more dancing around what we want. I'm making you an official offer. Move into the main house. Your own room if you want space, but part of the family properly. Not the guest house, not separate. Together. That's fast. We've been together for months, just haven't admitted it. Sophia considered. The guest house represented independence, safety net if everything collapsed. But independence was lonelier than she'd remembered, and safety nets only mattered if you were still falling. Okay, after we tell Emma, I'll move in. Yeah? Yeah. They kissed, deeper than the careful pecks they'd allowed themselves before, permission finally granted to want without restraint. When they separated, both were smiling despite the complications ahead. Ethan left for the main house. Sophia locked the guest house door, climbed the stairs to the bedroom that would soon stop being hers. Lay in bed with hand on stomach, talking to the cluster of cells that would become a person. Your timing is terrible, but I think we're going to be okay. The first prenatal appointment happened Wednesday morning. Ethan insisted on coming, despite Sophia's protests about his hovering. The doctor confirmed everything, due date in early March, healthy embryo, normal progression, prescribed prenatal vitamins, and scheduled follow-ups. Gave them printout of ultrasound that showed barely visible shape that would become their child. In the car afterward, Ethan stared at the image. That's real. That's actually happening. Having second thoughts? No, just processing. He looked at her. We should tell Emma tonight, before someone else notices and she hears from other sources. You think people are noticing? Marcus did, others will. Better she hears from us. That evening after dinner, they sat Emma down in the living room. She sensed seriousness immediately, expression going anxious. Am I in trouble? No, sweetheart. Ethan pulled her onto his lap. We have something to tell you. Big news. Good news or bad news? Good news. But it'll change some things. Emma looked between them, worry written across her features. Sophia took her hand. You know how much we love you. Yes. Well, love doesn't divide, it multiplies, and our family is about to get bigger. Are you getting married? Emma's eyes went wide with hope. Eventually, probably. But first, I'm going to have a baby, which means you're going to be a big sister. Emma processed this in silence. Then, a real baby? That lives here? Yes. When? Next spring, March. Will it be a boy or a girl? We don't know yet. What do you hope for? Emma thought hard. A sister. But a brother would be okay too. She looked at Sophia with sudden uncertainty. Are you going to love the baby more than me? Sophia's heart cracked. She knelt to Emma's level. Sweetheart, no. Never. The baby will need a lot of attention because babies can't do anything for themselves. But that doesn't mean we love you less. You're irreplaceable. But the baby will be yours, like really yours, and You're just what? Ethan's voice came firm. You're my daughter. You're Sophia's family. The baby doesn't change that. But it's different, Ed. Tears welled in Emma's eyes. The baby gets to have both of you from the start. I only get parts. The observation gutted them both. Sophia gathered Emma into her arms. You're right, it is different. You lost your mommy, and that's not fair. This baby won't replace her or replace you. But Emma, you get to help teach the baby things. Be the big sister. That's special in its own way. Oh, like I taught you about gardens? Exactly like that. You'll teach the baby about gardens and books and being kind. Emma wiped her eyes. Can I help pick the name? Definitely. And decorate the baby's room? Absolutely. Okay. Emma nodded, processing. I think I'm happy. It's just a lot. It's a lot for all of us, Ethan agreed. But we're doing it together. They spent the evening answering Emma's questions. Where babies came from, age-appropriate version, how long until arrival, whether the baby would like the same foods Emma liked. By bedtime, she'd moved from anxious to excited, already making plans for big sisterhood. After Emma slept, Ethan and Sophia collapsed on the couch. That went better than expected. She's resilient, more than we give her credit for. Still, we'll need to watch for signs of struggle. Make sure she knows she's still central. We will. Sophia leaned against him. Thank you for handling that so well. We're partners now, officially. Better get used to parenting as a team. The word, parenting, landed with weight. Sophia was becoming Emma's parent, not just caregiver, building family in ways that went beyond employment or convenience. The responsibility terrified and thrilled her. July became August. Pregnancy progressed visibly. Morning sickness hit hard for 2 weeks, then eased. Sophia moved from guest house to main house, occupying the bedroom next to Emma's. They navigated new routines. 3 people becoming family, learning each other's patterns, arguing occasionally about small things because comfort meant permission to disagree. Victoria's lawsuit crawled forward. Depositions scheduled, lawyers billing astronomical hours. Ethan remained confident they'd win, but the stress showed intention he carried across his shoulders. Marcus visited regularly, checking on Sophia with the protectiveness of someone who'd claimed family role, brought prenatal vitamins when she forgot to pick them up, showed up with food when pregnancy exhaustion meant cooking felt impossible, generally made himself useful while pretending to just be visiting Ethan. One evening in late August, Sophia found him in the kitchen making tea. You're hovering. I'm supporting. You feel guilty, like this is your fault. I knew Ethan had feelings. I should have warned you both to be more careful. We're adults. We made our own choices. Still, you were vulnerable. He was your employer. The power dynamics. Marcus, she stopped him. I'm not a victim here. Yes, the circumstances were complicated, but I wanted this. Him, Emma, the life we're building. The baby is unexpected, but it's not unwanted. He studied her face. You really mean that? I really do. Okay, then I'll stop feeling guilty and just be happy for you. That would be nice. They drank tea in companionable silence. Then Marcus asked, have you thought about what happens if Victoria wins? If Ethan loses controlling interest in the company? He says we'll be fine financially even in worst case. You will be, but Ethan's identity is wrapped up in Caldwell construction. Losing it would devastate him in ways that aren't just about money. What are you saying? I'm saying Victoria's playing dirty, and we need to be prepared for how ugly this might get. He met her eyes. She's already had investigators looking into your background again, trying to find evidence of impropriety, affair while you were technically employee, pregnancy as coercion tactic, anything she can use to paint Ethan as unstable. Sophia's stomach tightened. There's nothing to find. We were careful about boundaries until you weren't. And that night, unfortunately, falls within your employment period. Victoria will argue it proves inappropriate relationship while power dynamics were unequal. That's not how it was. I know, but optics matter in court. The conversation left Sophia uneasy. She'd thought the pregnancy was private matter, complication to navigate within family context. Hadn't fully processed how it could become weaponized in legal proceedings. That night, lying in bed, she felt the first real doubt about whether this would actually work, whether love was enough when external forces kept trying to tear things apart. September arrived with Emma starting second grade. She announced to her new teacher and classmates that she was going to be a big sister, came home with drawings of the family, 4 figures now instead of 3. Sophia noticed how the drawings always placed her between Ethan and Emma, anchor holding them together. The second trimester brought energy back. Sophia resumed volunteer work at the library, started showing obviously enough that strangers offered congratulations. Fielded questions about wedding plans with vague assurances that it would happen eventually. Navigated the strange social space of being pregnant by a man she wasn't married to but living with and loving anyway. Ethan proposed in October. Nothing elaborate, just the two of them in the garden Emma had started, surrounded by autumn harvest. He knelt in the dirt, held out a ring, asked if she'd marry him. I know we're doing things backward. Baby before wedding, cohabitation before engagement. But Sophia, I want you to know this is permanent. Not because of the baby, but because I love you. Because you're the person I want to build life with. She was crying before he finished. Yes, obviously yes. They planned small wedding for December before she got too pregnant to enjoy it, after Victoria's lawsuit hopefully resolved. Just family and close friends. Emma as flower girl, Marcus as best man. Simple ceremony at the community garden. Reception at home. November brought the lawsuit to trial. 2 weeks of testimony, evidence, lawyers performing for judge and jury. Victoria's team tried every angle, painted Ethan as emotionally unstable, suggested Sophia was opportunistic gold digger, argued that his resignation as CEO resulted from board pressure rather than personal choice. Marcus testified with devastating precision, presenting documentation that undermined every claim. Email chains showing Ethan's voluntary decision, employment records proving Sophia's legitimate role, character witnesses who spoke to Ethan's leadership and Sophia's competence. The defense rested after 8 days. Prosecution took another 3. Judge deliberated 2 days. The verdict came on a Friday. Victoria's claims dismissed entirely. No wrongful termination. No coercion. Case closed with costs awarded to Ethan. He called Sophia from the courthouse, voice rough with relief. It's over. We won. Come home. Emma and I are making dinner. Sophia? Yeah? I love you. Thank you for standing by me through this. That's what family does. That evening, Marcus joined them for celebratory dinner. Emma made a toast with her apple juice. To Daddy winning and our family being together forever. They clinked glasses, juice and water and sparkling cider, and laughed at the absurdity of surviving chaos to reach this moment. Sophia caught Ethan's eye across the table, saw the same thought reflected. They'd made it. Against odds, through complications, they'd actually made it. December wedding happened on a sunny winter day, rare for Portland. 40 guests, maximum. Emma walked down the aisle scattering rose petals with exaggerated care. Sophia followed, 6 months pregnant, wearing dress that accommodated her shape while still being elegant. Ethan waited at the altar with expression that suggested he might cry through the entire ceremony. He managed vows without breaking. Barely. Sophia, a year ago I was surviving, not living. Going through motions without feeling anything real. You changed that, made me remember that life is more than work, success is more than money, family is the only thing that actually matters. You gave Emma back her childhood. You gave me back myself. I promise to love you not despite complications or challenges, but because of them. Because hard things are worth doing when they matter this much. Sophia's turn came, voice steady despite emotions. Ethan, I was sitting on a bench with nothing when your daughter asked if she could hug me. That hug saved my life. You gave me home when I had none, purpose when I'd lost it, family when I thought I'd never have one again. I promise to love you and Emma always, to build with you instead of against you, to remember that we're stronger together than separate. The officiant pronounced them married. Emma cheered loudest. Reception overflowed with food and music in the kind of joy that comes from people who've survived hardship, reaching celebration. Sophia danced with Ethan carefully, her pregnant belly between them. Danced with Emma, who took her role as big sister very seriously. Danced with Marcus, who admitted he'd been worried at first, but now thought this might actually work. You were right, Sophia told him, about secrets having weight, about needing support. You did the hard part, chose to trust despite every reason not to. Because I learned something being homeless. Isolation kills you faster than exposure. Connection is survival. They danced in silence. Then Marcus spoke quietly. For what it's worth, Jennifer would have liked you. She'd be glad Emma has you. The words landed like blessing. Sophia hadn't realized how much she needed permission from Jennifer's memory until receiving it secondhand. The party lasted until Emma fell asleep on the couch. Guests departed. Cleanup happened quickly with many hands helping. By midnight, the house was quiet again. Just Ethan and Sophia in their bedroom, legally married, pregnant, impossibly happy, despite exhaustion. We did it, Ethan said, pulling her close. Actually did it. The easy part anyway. Marriage and babies are just beginning. Think we can handle it? I think we'll make mistakes and learn from them. Like everyone else. That's very optimistic for someone who was homeless a year ago. A year ago, I thought I'd lost everything. Turns out I just cleared space for something better. He kissed her, slow and thorough. I love you, Mrs. Caldwell. I love you too. They fell asleep tangled together, pregnancy making comfortable positions and challenging, but closeness more important than comfort. January brought New Year and increasing pregnancy discomfort. Sophia stopped working at the library, unable to maintain energy. Spent days reading to Emma, preparing the nursery, nesting in ways she hadn't expected. Ethan worked from home frequently, unwilling to miss moments. February brought baby shower, organized by Marcus with help from Emma. Gifts piled high. Everyone speculating about gender, though they'd chosen not to find out in advance. Emma had decided she wanted surprise, so they'd all wait together. Do you think the baby knows we're excited? Emma asked one evening, hand on Sophia's belly. I think the baby knows it's loved. That's what matters most. I'm going to be a good big sister. I promise. You already are. March arrived with false labor that sent them to the hospital twice. Real labor started March 15th at 2 a.m., Sophia waking to contractions that intensified rapidly. Ethan drove while calling Marcus to stay with Emma. They reached the hospital with 20 minutes to spare. 12 hours later, Oliver Marcus Caldwell entered the world screaming. 8 pounds, healthy, perfect. Sophia held him and felt completeness she'd been missing without knowing it. Ethan cried unashamedly. The nurses congratulated them with the warmth reserved for families who'd clearly struggled to reach this moment. Emma met her brother that evening. She'd made a card, drawing of 4 people with "Welcome Baby Oliver" written in careful letters. She touched his tiny hand, expression serious. He's really small. You were this small once, Ethan reminded her. I'll protect him, like you protect me. Sophia watched this child, no longer just Ethan's daughter, now truly hers, promise protection to her brother, and felt the final piece slot into place. Family wasn't just blood or law. It was choice repeated daily to show up and care even when things were hard. They brought Oliver home 3 days later, the house filled with new routines, feeding schedules, diaper changes, the sweet exhaustion of newborn care. Emma helped with everything, surprisingly competent for 7 years old. Ethan took paternity leave, first time he'd ever prioritized personal life over work. Marcus visited frequently, bearing food and supplies, generally making himself invaluable. Sophia watched him hold Oliver with unexpected tenderness and thought about how family wasn't what you were born into. It was what you built through intentional care. April arrived with spring. The garden Emma had started a year ago came back to life. They planted new seeds with Oliver sleeping in a carrier, Emma directing operations with authority of someone who'd done this before. This time last year, I was still living in the guest house. Sophia spoke without thinking. Ethan paused mid-dig. Feels like longer ago than that. Sometimes it feels like a different life. Person I used to be before all this. Do you miss her? That version of yourself? Sophia considered. The woman who'd sat on that bus stop bench had been broken, desperate, barely surviving. The woman she'd become was stronger, fuller, more herself than she'd ever managed alone. No, I don't miss her. She served her purpose, survived until something better came along, but I'm glad she's gone. Emma looked up from planting seeds. Does that mean you're happy now? Yes, sweetheart, I'm very happy. Good, because we're happy too. They worked in the garden until Oliver woke hungry, carried him inside for feeding while Emma stayed outside, tending plants with the dedication of someone who understood that growth required patience and consistent care. That evening, the four of them sat on the back porch watching sunset paint Portland in orange and gold. Oliver slept against Sophia's chest. Emma leaned against Ethan's side, the kind of ordinary moment that only revealed its value when you'd lived without it. Tell me again how you met Mommy Sophia. Emma requested the story they'd told her dozens of times. Well, Vavarian, Ethan began, Sophia was having a really hard day, and you saw her and asked if you could give her a hug. Because hugs make sad go away. Exactly, and that hug changed everything. Emma nodded, satisfied. I think Mommy Jennifer sent Sophia to us, from heaven. Maybe she did. She'd like her. Don't you think, Daddy? Ethan's eyes went distant, remembering. Yeah, baby, I think she would. Sophia felt the ghost of Jennifer's presence, not threatening, just acknowledging. The first wife who'd loved Ethan and Emma before everything broke, who'd probably understand better than most that sometimes life required starting over with new people, that healing didn't mean forgetting. I hope I'm making her proud, Sophia said quietly, taking care of her family. You are. Ethan reached for her hand. Every day, you are. They sat in the gathering dusk, family assembled through improbable circumstances, held together by choice and love and the understanding that nothing about life was guaranteed. But this moment, this specific configuration of people caring for each other, felt permanent in ways that transcended legal contracts or biological ties. Oliver stirred, making small noises. Emma jumped up. Can I hold him? I'll be careful. Of course. Sophia transferred the baby to his big sister's arms, watched her cradle him with the seriousness of someone taking responsibility seriously. 7 years old and already understanding that love meant showing up, being gentle, protecting the vulnerable. I love you all, Emma announced, not looking up from Oliver's twice. Our whole family. We love you too, sweetheart. Night fell completely. Portland lights sparkled below. Inside the house, dinner waited. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, sleepless nights, work obligations, the ordinary struggles of family life. But tonight they had this: wholeness where there had been fragments, hope where there had been despair, home where there had been nowhere. Sophia closed her eyes, feeling Ethan's hand warm in hers, hearing Emma's soft voice talking to her brother, Oliver's tiny breath steady against her chest. Remembered the bus stop bench 18 months ago when she thought she'd lost everything. She'd been wrong. She'd only been clearing space. For this, for them, for love that saved 3 lives with a single hug and kept saving them every day after.